for it.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Association of Into Dogs. We're back with a bang this year because we have an amazing, um, I've gone blank. We have an amazing guest who has a product called Calm Dog Games. So I want to introduce you to Chloe, and then we're going to talk about the Calm Dog Games because we all want calm dogs. We really do. Um, so, Chloe, welcome. Thank you for joining us. Tell us a bit about what is it? From what I haven't got the product myself. I've just heard everything from Mark. I've seen the site. So, am I right in saying it's a deck of cards?
Yes, it's probably easiest to show.
Yeah, that you play with your dog.
I've got one here, so that I can show you. So yeah, basically it's a sort of like a tarot deck, if you will, playing cards. Mine are all mixed up because this is my particular deck. All the cards have different activities on the back. So there's 52 different enrichment activities. I kind of split them between sort of natural behavioral outlets like your chewing, sniffing, digging, licking, those sort of self-soothing behaviors. And then you've got more kind of bonding and engagement activities that you can do with your dog. And then also we've got more structured activities like scent work. So actually setting up, a particular activity for your dog to go and do. So they're split into 5 categories. So you've got play, which is a bit more of the kind of higher energy. You've got the puzzle, you've got bond, and then calm and focus. So it's sort of the idea behind it is that you can work with what your particular dog needs. So for example, I started it when I got my dog Cam, who is a working bred Springer Spaniel. So very much if I think of, what's the big headline with him, it's managing arousal levels. And so that's why I like to incorporate more of the calming activities. We go out for a walk. For a lot of dogs, that might be, very mentally stimulating, enjoying and be enough for them. But for him, you'd always get that kind of spike of arousal levels. So just coming home and then doing some, calming activities just to kind of bring him down and have a little bit of a calmer baseline. So that's the sort of overall idea behind it. It also got a little booklet with just additional sort of challenge levels and tips and things like that, all that are within positive reinforcement.
And when did you first come up with this? Which came first, the card or the dog?
The dog came first. He was the whole inspiration for it. I had a Springer Spaniel before him, and a very different kettle of fish. He was sort of a show type. And he didn't have prey drive at all. So the big kind of factor with Cam was the prey drive and managing that and providing enough outlets for that. So yeah, he was very much the inspiration behind it all. And it was probably about 6 or 7 years ago now. And then I worked with the RSPCA behaviorists. They kind of looked through it all and kind of had their input and things like that. And then that's what I sort of created from it.
Fantastic. And these are available online. Are they available in shops or is it just online at the moment?
I do have some stockists, but they're sort of dotted around. I think I might have one in Australia and a couple in America as well, but yeah, online.
Brilliant. Well, we will put the link to your site up when this goes live, or well, pre-recorded live, you know what I mean. So we'll include everything. Now I know Mark uses the cards a lot with his clients. So do you want to give us a bit of feedback on the reaction that people give you when you suddenly take out a deck of cards and go, let's start playing?
Yeah, sure. That's what I've got to say. First of all, is what I like is that little throwaway comment there. Yeah, I've got a few stockists, Australia, America. It's just, I'm just global. It's okay. It's brilliant. No, I like it. It's most people, if they're sitting at home, they struggle to find things to do with the dogs. So if I go and see, like I did this morning, a little cocker spaniel, needs a lot of confidence, needs boosting up, not particularly manic, but just needs that confidence building. So something with like a deck of cards that I can say to people, look, of an evening time. You're sitting there watching TV. Every advert break is 2 or 3 minutes long. So every advert break, take a card out, do an activity. It's all written down there for you. You haven't got to sit there and think, because most people will kind of go straight to sit, down, pour, all the kind of like boring regular stuff. But the cards give you something different. And it's literally like a word for word here to do this exactly. This is what you should get. And it becomes an easier thing for people to do. They're not then faffing about trying to go all over the internet, trying to find things to do. They've got their own deck of cards. I mean, there's how many cards are in that deck, Chloe?
52.
Yeah.
52. Right. So there's fundamentally, you've got enough cards to repeat a couple of times over the course of the year, or 3 times over the course of the year. And then you've got all these activities your dog starts to do, which of course then builds a bit more confident, gets a bit more focus, helps your dog relax, gives you more things to do. It's just a great little fun thing to do. And the thing is, they're so affordable too. It doesn't matter who I go and see, it's worth it. You know, I think the price is about 20 quid.
Yeah.
Yeah. So at that point, everyone can afford 20 quid. If they've got a trainer in or a behaviorist or whatever, it's 20 quid. So for the sake of spending £20 and getting this wonderful set of cards come through, and they're sturdy too, they're not like weak cards. They've got a bit of heft to them, which is quite nice. So it's a nice thing. The feedback I've had so far from clients, which is why I add them to my emails, is that they really help. And it's such a nice thing to be able to then offer and kind of go, well, look, if you go to this company and get this, and Chloe's very kindly allowed us to have a bit of a discount too for clients. So that's even better. So I can then pass that on to my clients. They go and buy a set, and it actually helps A, with their bond, B, with calmness for the dogs. It just works for people, which has got to be a good thing, surely.
Absolutely.
You're much better at explaining that.
Should I record you a promo?
Yeah, that would be perfect. I was like, that's great.
Yeah. But no, they are good. If you can get a pack, Denise, they are really, really good things to have.
I found that I think when I got started, because I have a chronic inflammatory condition, so I sometimes have, days where I've got in a lot of pain, or I just got brain fog. And then, when you've got this sort of, higher, particularly a higher energy breed, you've got to kind of keep on top of things. And so instead of, racking my kind of brain every day, and you do get stuck into a rut, I find, with the same things. And so that was the original. It was not even going to be for anyone else. It was actually just going to be for Cam originally, where I just kind of thrashed it all out, and sort of documented out all these different, things that I could do with him, so kind of add a little bit of variety in.
It's a good point. I mean, I like you, I've got an autoimmune disease, so that tires me out, and you do get brain fog, and you procrastinate, and you do nothing for hours, and then you feel bad about it. But having those cards to hand, you haven't got to think. You just pick a card out and you go, I'm going to do this. It's not a case of going, oh, what should I do tomorrow? Or, I get it every weekend. I go for a longer walk and I sit in the car trying to think where to go. You're there for 10 minutes going, oh, which way should we go somewhere, But it is like, and you're quite right. I mean, a lot of my clients that use these cards, they are people that perhaps are not quite so active, who maybe are stuck at home a bit more. They have the sort of dogs that do need that extra little bit of mental stimulation. So they work very, very well for all of those kind of different scenarios, really. But
I really could have done with those when I was laid up with my leg.
Absolutely, right?
Yeah. Because I was lying there racking my brains going, what am I going to do to keep 2 working dogs active when I'm immobile for 3 months? So we did a lot of clicker and a lot of targeting. And speaking of brain fog, I'm completely brain fogged this morning for some reason. But it never dawned on me to kind of write stuff down and randomly pick it out and just do it. So didn't even know they existed back then. So now I do, and now I'm going to be recommending them to everybody.
Chloe, do you have the stockist in Ireland by any chance?
Well, unfortunately, things have changed a little bit with EU and Ireland. So I'm still kind of trying to figure that out at the moment.
Okay.
But no, not as yet.
Okay, we have to. Denise, you can make some inquiries, and
I will.
Become a stockist, Denise.
That is actually very tempting.
You never know. Yeah, I think Denise being in Ireland is a bit more difficult for her to get a pack of those cards. I think that it's mainly that. Is it, Denise, the shipping cost that's the big thing?
With Brexit, I don't know. Everything went weird. There's it costs like it would cost Chloe a lot more to send them over to Ireland than anything else, and then I'd have to pay import tax on top of
Oh wow.
shipping and the
Yeah,
product and everything. So
it's been a big impact on small businesses,
yeah,
I think,
yeah.
throughout. But yeah, we're sort of trying to do what we can to get little stockists here and there.
Yeah, that's cool. So with Cam there, you say 7-year-old Springer.
Yeah.
So does he really enjoy? Do you do a mixture of those every night? Do you do one a day? Do you do something now and again, or what's your regime with him?
It's super varied, really. And I think one of the things, his main thing is that he needed to learn almost how to do nothing, which sounds a little bit ironic with, all these activities. But that is one of the key things that I do kind of put throughout this. But it's kind of particularly looking at exercise, and how much, exercise people give their dogs. And some people I will see, and they'll go on the same exact route every day, maybe like twice a day. And the dog's not really getting anything new. Yes, there's always going to be slightly different scents and things like that. But it's just looking at the way, we work with dogs, and it's not just, okay, I take my dog for a walk and tick that box. For him, if he goes out and then we come across sheep and he gets kind of excited, obviously on the lead, then it's sort of looking at, okay, he's gone a little bit excited there. Maybe now he's not sniffing as much. So we'll come home and we might do scatter feeding, or we might do something different, so that we're making sure that he has an actual outlet, especially with a lot of reactive dogs these days, are getting walked in certain ways, or, maybe not going out as much. What can we do, within the home and within an environment that they feel comfortable and safe, to just do normal kind of dog things. And like I mentioned, about one of the key things about it is giving, behavioral outlets, because so much of, I think, what we can look at with training is don't do this and don't do that. And a lot of the things we're telling dogs not to do are just natural behaviors for them. And so I think a lot of frustration can kind of build up when they're living, within our home and within our lives, and they have to very much adapt and fit within us. It's just giving, them an opportunity to sort of do the doggy things that they, would naturally want to do.
Of course, that's a good point. I mean, especially when people have things like spaniels, their main objective is to go and sniff mainly. And of course, then if we're not allowing them to do that, or they're not doing it as much, they're going to get bored. They're going to get a bit, you're going to have other behavioral issues come out of that. The nice thing about these cars is you can do those.
They're going to go self-employed.
Yeah, but you can do them at home with those cards. And that's the nice thing, is there's no pressure. There's no external pressure saying to you, oh, no, there's a dog coming, or this. It's something you can do at home, which is very, very straightforward and easy.
You can do it at home, and I also do a lot out and about as well. And I think that's really good for just getting your dog, using their brain in these different environments, in a kind of more sort of fun, playful, engaging way. But also, we've done certain of the calming activities, for example, out in different areas, out in fields, out in the woods. And it's helped to sort of reduce those arousal levels so that he can actually spend time sniffing rather than, racing around like a lunatic. And that's completely sort of transformed our walks, because now if we go out, he'll be predominantly sniffing. And I think a lot of the time you'll see, I think there's a pointer that lives nearby, and every time I see that dog out, it's sprinting full pouch, just the entire time doing like loops and loops and loops. And yeah, it's getting a lot of exercise. But if that's the experience it's having every single time it goes out, there's none of the sort of the calming, the sniffing kind of thing going on as much. So it's just sort of looking at that, looking at your dog, and kind of adapting to what they need.
And of course, with spaniels, they tend to, and any working dog, but they tend to go and do these activities on their own. So if you can make it an activity that they do with you, the bond is improved, and obviously then things like recalls improved, and everything else is improved. So it's quite nice just to get involved in what they're doing on their terms sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. It's very much, getting on your dog's terms, really. And there's a couple activities in there that I put in there that I kind of credit for, how nice Cam is off the lead, in terms, and it's not, again, with, certain training, you've got this criteria. But with some of this, it's not really having, a criteria, like with recall, always having your dog come straight back to you. Some of the things I will do is just capturing behavior. So he looks at me, good, and then I throw him a treat. He doesn't have to come back to me to get the treat, and he can find the treat in the grass, which then gives him extra sniffing as he goes and finds that treat. So again, it's kind of lowering that sort of barrier. So he's constantly checking in with me when he's out and about and looking at what I'm doing and where I'm going. And the other one again is just sort of changing directions. So there's a little activity in there about, you look a bit funny, maybe to some other people out in the woods, like going all over the place. But it's just, again, do you need to be recalling your dog constantly? Or, when they see you change direction, they just automatically come and follow you. And you're kind of capturing that behavior and building on it with, obviously positive reinforcement. So I like to think of it as not having to micromanage him. And like you said, there's a lot of spaniels particularly that will go self-employed out and about in the woods. But that's one of the things that, I've done to just, make sure that we have really nice, calm walks instead of always feeling like have to be on it every time I go out.
Of course, they've got energy for days, haven't they, spaniels? It's one of the endearing factors that they're just nuts. And I like that about a spaniel.
Yeah, it's very much their personality, and you're not going to change that personality. It's just sort of working with it.
Absolutely. Have you got any questions, Denise?
So I have Neville here poking at the computer. I'm half expecting him to disconnect me in a second. Neville needs a set of these cards, don't you? So yeah, I'd love to chat more with you about the cards and stockists and what you need and whatnot. There's something else I want to run past you, but I'll wait till we're off air because it's an idea for you. So.
There we go. Oh, you got it again.
And I've opened my mouth on air before and somebody else has run off with the idea.
You froze for a bit then, Denise. So we missed a bit of that, but we'll chat to Chloe after we've stopped recording. I think that's going to be the moment.
Yeah.
So we're gonna add your details anyway to the link when we put the post out. But where can people find your cards?
So my website's just calmdoggames.com. I'm also on Instagram under the same. I do have a YouTube channel as well. It's only got 2 videos there at the moment, but I will be getting back on that and kind of just explaining some of the concepts a little bit more.
Okay, you're on Facebook as well, or not on Facebook?
I'm on Facebook, yeah.
Oh, okay, so there's plenty of places that people can go and buy these things quite easily. I know when I got them, it was very straightforward to get, so that was quite good. And of course,
they'll be up on our website. We can put a link up on our website as well.
Absolutely,
yeah. This is something that we really, really recommend people have a look at and try and.
And you do an affiliate thing, don't you? Where if there's a behavioural trainer, then you can get a little bit of a discount for your clients. You want to explain a bit about how that come about and how you do that?
Yeah, so I call it my ambassador program. So the only criteria for that is being a dog professional and working within a sort of positive reinforcement force-free capacity, and then they get basically a code, so it's your own code, for example, into dogs, and then clients will be able to just pop that in at checkout. They'll receive a discount, and then the sale will be tagged to you, so you'll get a referral fee. So I offer that to dog professionals, and I have various sort of products on the website as well. Some of them are my own sort of handmade snuffle toys, so I do that as well. But yeah, it's a nice way to sort of connect within the dog community and kind of, all sort of help each other out a bit.
Yeah, it's a nice way of doing it. It just it does encourage people to go out and sort of push them a bit more and to use them a bit more as well. If you think you're going to get a little bit out of it, it's nice. But it's also nice to give your clients a little bit of a discount too, which is
yeah, and like you say, it's just sort of a handy kind of tool for people. And I think a lot of the time enrichment, is the baseline before sort of training. So a lot of things when the dog's needs not being met, that will look like destructive behaviors or whatnot. And so, it's just kind of making sure that those sort of, the dog's getting what it needs first and foremost. But then also, it's kind of handy to use as a resource if you run enrichment classes or workshops, things like that. You can just kind of take a few cards out and set up some different activities. And that can be quite a fun way as well to just have dog socializing, but in a quite appropriate sort of energetic way where they're just around each other, all focused on doing their own little thing.
Yeah, it's a nice thing to have. It's we've used
Because a
them
lot
before in classes just to sort of get people
of
to do
people,
activities, which is always quite nice. I think you've frozen, Denise. I think you keep freezing. You there, Denise? Nope, frozen again. So
yeah,
you can use them.
am I back?
Oh,
Yeah.
you're back, are you? Okay, you're back.
I think so. Yeah, no, a lot of people seem to think that enrichment is nothing other than throwing food at the dog. So it's great to kind of say,
She's gone again.
actually, no, there's so much more. I froze again, didn't I?
You
I
did,
give
yeah,
up.
you did. We'll have to, yeah, okay. Well, yeah, you've gone again. You keep freezing. Nope, gone again. But she's quite right. Yeah, rather than just throwing food at a dog, there's cards give you other things to do as well, which is always a nice thing to have. So it's not just about pumping your dog full of food and making them sleep because they're full up. It's about working their brains. It's one of the things I talk about. Apart from food, which is generally my first port of call on all my clients, I then talk about are they working the dog's brain? Because we've all seen it, lots and lots of working breed dogs in homes where they're just not being made to think. They're not using their brains effectively, and of course that, as Denise said earlier, they become self-employed, but it also then makes them a bit more anxious and a bit more skitty. So once you start using something really as easy as that set of cards, where you haven't got to think about what to do, your dog starts to improve, and generally it's a fairly rapid improvement too, because they're now enjoying it. Plus, some of the dogs that I've worked with, they know where the cards are kept. So if mum or dad goes to the drawer, oh, the cards are coming out. This is quite handy. I quite like this. So it's that as well. There's always those little things that you can use, isn't there, that get the dog thinking a little bit.
Yeah, I think anything where you can have a positive interaction, with your dog and build that. A lot of people aren't necessarily animal people. This dog might be the first animal they've ever looked after and had. And so a lot of the time there isn't always like a level of understanding. And especially I think we treat dogs a lot like little people. I think we're all probably a little bit guilty of that sometimes. So it's just kind of in a nice, compassionate way, just helping people understand dogs a little bit more.
Yeah, because I mean, you were saying earlier, and it's such a valid point that we bring these dogs into our homes and expect them to adapt to us, but most people don't spend the time to understand what the dog's thinking, saying, how they're feeling, what the body language is. Once we start doing that, it's easier. But of course, then just playing those little games. I mean, I've got a youngster here who's about 17 months, and he's a very busy boy, very busy boy. So out on walks, the whole world is more exciting. Everything, whether it be a bit of deer poo or the deer itself, it doesn't really matter. So doing some of these games with him really helps him to kind of focus a bit more. So when you've got dogs like that, it's kind of it's just one of those easy things that you can get to help them calm down, you relax a bit, and it's just a lot easier all round, isn't it?
Yeah, it's definitely more, sort of everyone says this, but it's definitely true that the mental stimulation is more tiring a lot of the time than exercise. And especially, having a high energy breed, you might, walk and walk and walk, or go out running. I do Canicross with Cam. We can walk and do 5,000 in a day or whatever. Is he tired at the end of that? Yes. But the next day or the day after that, he's ready to do another 15 miles. There's no amount of walking or running that I can really do with him. I can never, go over that. So it's very much like us, doing a mentally taxing job. You feel far more tired at the end of that. And one of the things I do like to mention with enrichment, because I think there's sometimes a little bit of a misunderstanding with it. It's not about making it say, difficult to obtain food. And I think sometimes people think it's that. It's not about increasing the complexity or the challenge so that you're making life sort of difficult for your dog. And sometimes people will say, oh, my dog's super smart, they can do that really easily, like what's next? Just go again, do it again. It's a positive experience. It's not about making it difficult or challenging, it's about making it fulfilling. And I think that's the key kind of difference. Is this activity actually enriching and actually fulfilling for your dog? or are you just, some things I think make things a little bit, difficult rather than fulfilling. So I think it's making sure that we understand the difference.
Making it difficult, just it gets boring then. It gets frustrating and it gets boring. I know many people who start out all the best intentions, walk the dog, get off that, walk the dog. The dog still bounce around the house. They walk the dog again. What they're doing is building an athlete that they can't keep up with, especially if, say, they get a cold or something, they're down for a day or two, the dog is bouncing off the wall. So this is lovely to break it up, keep your exercise routine at a set level, but then you have something else to break it up. And as you say, it's about fulfillment. It's not about complexity. It's the fulfillment that they get from even the simplest of things. I mean, one of my fellas loves the wobbler. He would knock it through the wall. He gets so excited with it. The other fella's terrified of it because he actually has to use his paw and touch it. And it's like, no. But he loves a piece of fabric, or a towel or something with some treats rolled up. So it's also about knowing what your dogs need and figuring that out is half the fun, in fairness. This little fella's still, what do you want? Oh, somebody's looking for a bit of attention. So,
Aren't we all?
but yeah, you said you had snuffle toys as well.
Yeah, so I do snuffle balls. I might be bringing back the snuffle mats. I'm actually going to be working on some of those this week. And then I also have one here so I can show you. I was about to send this off to someone, but the snuffle plat. So basically this has treat pockets like all the way down it. So you can fit a lot of food in here. But one of the things I like to look out for with treat dispensers, like you say, with a wobble, some dogs might really enjoy doing that. But I like to look for different ways that the dog can interact with it. So you've got that sort of level one, I guess, of the push, push with their nose, it releases a treat. That's kind of great for dogs that might be low confidence and just need that really, really easy win. But for a dog like Cam, it's quite fun in the sort of a predatory play outlet because he can kind of thrash this around a little bit. He can shake it. He can drag it about, especially with spaniels, that kind of possession. They really enjoy that. So I've got sort of videos and pictures of spaniels, particularly like just holding on and just liking, having the snuffle ball because it's just something that it's soft and they can just mouth and kind of keep hold of. But yeah, just working on like extracting the treats all the way down this, I find it's quite a nice activity. I sort of think of it a little bit like the act of dissection. So if he's done, I think with Chase, you get that that sort of adrenaline rush, but it's such a small part of the sort of predatory sequence, and then always doing that chase. That's, some dogs will end up ball obsessed because of that. And it's also a lot of impact on their joints. So I often think of it as like sort of closing the loop in terms of, does the dog actually get to grab, consume, settle down, kind of dissect their meal a little bit. And then that's a lot more fulfilling than just doing that one. I think of like the chase as a bit like the sort of adrenaline junkie section of it. But actually, what other activities can we do that fulfill, other parts of that? So yeah, that's one of the activities that I do with him. He really enjoys that. It takes him about half an hour to sort of work his way through with that, and he's very much like happy and content after that.
Cool.
Brilliant.
So what's your
Right.
background?
Do you have any more questions?
Yeah, what's your background in dogs? So I know you've had the Springer before, and then Cam, and kind of inspired the cars. But what's your background with dogs?
So I originally came from a human coaching background, so that's what I originally trained as in integrative health, and then getting Cam, that was a sort of switch for me, and I just started getting really into dogs. I did start to go down the route of doing with IMDT, doing their dog training, and then I sort of realized that actually I don't think I want to go down necessarily that route. I might just stick with the enrichment side of things. So then I started doing like the courses in enrichment and anthology and scent work and things like that, just to learn more about that. But yeah, so I'm not I don't sort of work one-on-one. I don't have clients like you. I'm not a behaviorist, but I did work with the RS. Well, I can't say that now.
SPCA.
RSPCA.
It's catchy.
With their behaviorists to just make sure, obviously, that all the content they're all happy with. So
Well, it's certainly going well for
Yeah, no, it's lovely when you see a product like that, like a product that actually ticks all the boxes, and then you hear about all you've gone through in the past with studying scent work, enrichment, everything like that. So you've put so much effort into it, and you have a proper understanding of what the dogs need. So it's great. It's a great product. I'm really looking forward to it.
Right, we better wrap this up then. Better keep this nice and short and sweet. It's been an absolute pleasure to meet you finally and to chat with you. It's been really fascinating. It's a wonderful product, and we'll put the link to the website on the post when we put that out as well.
thank you. No, like I say, it's really nice to meet you finally. I know we've had a little odd bits back and forth on email, so it's been nice to put a face to the name.
Absolutely, yeah. Sorry about this. It tends to scare people. Right, thank you very much, Chloe. Well, Denise, we'll chat to you hopefully again at another point in the future.
Yep. Thanks.